Remember this motorcycle? I won't blame you if you don't. This is the Husqvarna. I won't blame you if you don't know how to pronounce it. I won't also blame you if you don't know where these were being sold. Because you see, they just came at a very wrong time. But let's fix all of that. This is a Swedish brand. It's called Husqvarna. It's sold at KTM dealerships because it shares all its underpinnings with KTM. In fact, it's a part of the whole KTM group. But what we are here for is to take a look at the new Husqvarnas, the 2024 edition, because Husqvarna is now back and they've brought along bigger siblings. Meet the new Vitpilen. Now this is still running a 250cc engine, but it's bigger on size. And also meet the new Svartpilen, which also is bigger on size, but also has a bigger engine. The same engine from the new KTM 390 Duke. That's why the 401 badging.
To give you a recap, the Vitpilen is your sophisticated roadster, while the Svartpilen is the wild child, built for some off-road shenanigans. But this time around, the Vitpilen is only available as the 250 and the Svartpilen is only available as the 401. The Vitpilen 401 and the Svartpilen 250 could be added later. Double tap your screen on the left if you want to hear that again.
Speaking of recap, let's go back to the 250 twins. Now we used to mock them for being a bit too compact. You can see that. The tail, well, it was so small it felt like it had some problem with its own personal space. And while these motorcycles rode really well, they were so compact that it almost felt like you're trying to get into some skinny jeans after a big buffet meal. So have the folks at Husqvarna sorted it all out. Let's delve into the details of the new motorcycle.
They have made the bike significantly larger now, and you don't need a second glance to know that. Every glance though will go straight to the protrusion on the tank, which either bears the Vitpilen or the 401 lettering to tell you what variant you're looking at. And from there on, you realize that it is an arrow straight weld line for this motorcycle, highlighting its neo-retro form compared to the attacking forward bias stance of its KTM siblings.
If you're bored of all the new, sharp, pointy, I'll sting your backside kind of designs that most motorcycles are donning, in that case, the retro styling of the Husqvarna could be more up your alley. That said, the Husqvarna has always been like the rebel in a room full of conformists. But at the same time, this one doesn't feel like a teenager. This design is an evolution of what we saw in 2018. So from that sense, it's more matured, more refined. Will it still turn heads though? Or were you hoping for something more avant-garde, something that was more in your face? Let me know in the comments below.
A few modern touches for the onlooker wouldn't have hurt. Some pinstriping on the wheels or dual-tone seats, or maybe a contrasting high-vis yellow grab rail at least. Maybe you can fix that if you decide to buy one. What is modern once you get astride is the new instrumentation, LCD for the 250 or TFT for the 401. But we will come to that in a bit. The 401 model has gained about 3 kgs compared to the KTM, while the 250 is 2 kg lighter than the outgoing 250 counterpart.
And it's not just that, they've also been able to give you better ground clearance now. 177 millimeters instead of the previous 149. So for our lovely roads, that's definitely going to be better.
The new Huskies use the redesigned trellis frame and the swing arm from the new KTM Dukes, but trade in the aluminium monocoque subframe for a cheaper steel tubular frame that also provides the straightish seating profile. The off-center, linkage-less rear shock geometry remains unchanged over the KTM, giving space for a lighter, low-slung muffler and an under-seat airbox compared to the outgoing bikes. The Svartpilen also gets a small bash plate. The seat height is lower too. The updated suspension includes a set of WP Apex 43mm open cartridge forks, adjustable for compression and rebound, and the WP Apex separate piston rear shock, adjustable for preload and rebound, so you can set it up for your riding style.
The previous Svartpilen has often felt like a little BMX bike on a gravelly road, a lot of fun. The new one continues to be that, but it's also gone through a big growth spurt. It's got a larger frame, larger engine thanks to all the equipment it gets from the 390 Duke. However, that suspension and the wheel size also comes from the 390 Duke. Now, that is a bit of a missed opportunity is what I feel, because while they claim this to be the more off-roady motorcycle out of the twins, it's still got a lot of that Vitpilen DNA in it. Despite those off-road tires, despite that nice ground clearance, it still feels more road focused, and that's because of that suspension. The suspension travel is very much like the Duke 390, which is essentially a street bike. And you can forget about standing and riding on this motorcycle as if it were a scrambler, because despite the nice and slim tank, the way the foot pegs are positioned, you just can't get that proper standing riding position when you want to go off-road. And come on, would it have killed them to just give you a nice side-swept big exhaust canister instead of doing that underbelly exhaust on an off-roady machine?
The budget bi-brake system provides braking confidence, and remarkably, it doesn't seem to mind the off-road tires. It delivers excellent bite regardless. You can even turn off the rear ABS using the Supermoto mode. Discover it on the new instrumentation screen. Speaking of which, apart from glancing at your speed or RPM, which is presented in the distinct Husqvarna colors instead of the KTM orange, there's something missing. And that something is the result of cost-saving measures for the Indian market, a slightly lower spec electronics package. You might scratch your heads when I tell you that the Svartpilen does away with the inertial measurement unit or the IMU, and even the Bluetooth module is an optional extra. A bit strange considering the growing appetite of the Indian consumers for rider aids and connectivity options since the Huskies first made their debut in India. It seems Husqvarna is prioritizing raw riding experience over tech frills. Let me know your thoughts.
So you see, they've saved cost with the subframe, they've saved cost with the electronics, and then you start wondering, they've given you Pirelli Rally STR tires. That's some top drawer equipment. Even the KTM 390 Adventure gets MRFs and doesn't get such quality rubber. So I don't know what the thought process is, but they are tubeless tires. The wheels, however, aren't. These wire spoke wheels are going to be the tube type. So yes, they could catch a puncture on our roads, but at the same time, repairing these wheels, should you smash a spoke or maybe bend the rim, it's going to be much easier compared to the alloy wheels. So that's a definite advantage, especially if you're going to be dancing through potholes every now and then. And if that is what your commutes are going to look like, or most of your riding is going to look like, the Svartpilen is definitely the better choice compared to the Vitpilen. Now, if you're going to be attacking corners a lot more, you might want to side with the Vitpilen 250. That completely depends on your pocket size, but here's what I would do. I would get myself the Svartpilen because it gets me the bigger engine from the 390. It also gets me the adjustable suspension, and I would simply buy another pair of wheels from the Vitpilen, the alloy wheels and the road tires, and then simply swap them out if I'm going to be attacking corners a lot more, because then I get the better engine, the better suspension, the better rigidity from the alloy wheels, and better balance, of course. Now, those wheels are a straight swap, same size. The only thing is, because it's running a slightly lower grade of electronics, the ABS on this thing is not going to be a self-learning type, which means the calibration is completely done for off-road tires. So there is going to be a bit of a, let's say, a shortcoming, and you will have to make up for it with better knowledge of braking and riding.
Now, don't let those wire spoke wheels and the off-road tires fool you. When it comes to navigating bends, trails, or even gravel-strewn roads, the 399cc engine unleashes a level of hooliganism that's nothing short of exhilarating. The larger form doesn't compromise the Svartpilen's ability to dart in and out of corners like a true rebel on the road. Yet, I can't help but feel that the Svartpilen's appeal might have its boundaries. I'd envisioned a scenario where the larger new Svartpilen could bridge the gap, offering an experience akin to the Triumph Scrambler 400X versus the Speed 400. It could have carved its niche as the perfect middle ground between the KTM Duke 390 and the KTM Adventure 390. But alas, it falls short of that mark. However, if you're open to seeing this as a KTM 390 Duke on a budget, dressed up in some neo-retro styling, a little bit better off-road or bad road capability, well, then it all starts to make perfect sense. The Svartpilen may not be the all-rounder that we wished for, But as a budget-friendly, stylistically unique alternative, it does hold its own. And I'm sure there will be quite a few takers for it.
I said this in my review of the 390 Duke as well. That engine is an absolute gem, and whatever you have read on the internet about the problems with that engine, that was a batch issue. It's all been sorted right now, so you can have complete peace of mind with it. Now with this engine, it just leaves me daydreaming for a Norden 401. That would be just perfect. You know, it would have the right off-road hardware and the right motorcycle. But looking at the way Bajaj is going about with the business of these Husqvarnas, where they only have the 250 for the Vitpilen, they only have the 401 for the Svartpilen, I think they'll not do the Norden at all, even if Husqvarna decides to build one. Probably they'll let KTM enjoy that adventure space. But that said, I think this is a very nice motorcycle. But you know, I said it with the previous Husqvarna as well, that the bike looks so beautiful, I wouldn't even mind keeping it in my living room like a piece of art. This one is more of a parking lot or a garage conversation starter than a living room centerpiece. But kudos to Husqvarna for addressing all the concerns that we've had with the motorcycle. It's got a beautiful engine, the frame is much nicer, the swing arm is wider, longer, you also have nicer seat, more comfortable. In fact, it's a sweet goodbye to the uncomfortable ergonomics of the original Husqvarnas that we rode a few years back. So from that point of view, I think it's a very lovely, nice upgrade. Of course, with this whole Bajaj strategy of the 250 being Vitpilen exclusive and the 401 being Svartpilen exclusive, you know, the pricing may not really match what your expectations were. It's certainly cheaper than the 390 Duke or the 250 Duke, whichever bike you're looking at. But the lack of certain equipment like the electronics, etc., might make you feel like this price is a bit of a nudge over your expectations. But think of it like the premium that you pay for an XL seat in an economy flight. It's totally worth it, isn't it?